think I'm going to continue on this tirade about how exclusivity is dead. Now, I say it because we're seeing the slow death, speedy death, whatever you want to call it, expedited death of exclusivity as a system. In fact, in the third-party space, a lot of developers are weary because, number one, it appears that they're looking not only at the immediate sales, but the post-sales ramification for their IPs as to how it's probably not going to work out for them were they to continue to hold their games and reduce their addressable market. Even Sean Layden, hater of Xbox and Game Pass, said back in the day when games were $5 million to make, this was when he was on Destin's interview podcast, that now you can't necessarily do that. I was perusing the Twitters and I saw this post by user Brap_podcast. Brap says Nike is the exclusive retailer of Air Jordans. Huh? He says, which not only drives direct sales, but also boosts spending on other Nike products, such as apparel. Oh, boy. Y'all already know that this is actually not accurate, right? Okay, I'm just going to keep reading. The Air Jordan line reinforces Nike's brand identity and adds value and prestige for both the company and its consumers. Now, brand prestige is not a pro-consumer thing. I don't know why people are continuing to get this. A brand pro-consumerism is if it offers quality goods, products, and services for prices that the market deems acceptable at the end of the day. That is simply the pro-consumer stance when it comes down to goods and services. Maybe I'm missing something else, but I don't see where all these folk are getting prestige from. What's funny is Nib95 replied, and then he insulted most on X, because again, Nib95 can't make an argument without saying things like most of X have a kindergarten level of business acumen. Nib95, we're going to go ahead and show you that if Nike was doing what both of you and Brap are claiming, they'd be the ones with the kindergarten level of acumen. And if you can see that they're doing it, you may have actually insulted yourself. I'm kind of scared for how fast you did that. You said foresight and entitlement. You said, so while this context is appreciated, it's beyond the purview of many. It's not beyond the purview of a Google search that shows that Hibbett Sports, Nordstrom, JD Sports, and perhaps other retailers sell Air Jordans. So I took Copilot on a ride. In fact, I Googled it at first and I just saw the, Google Shopping blast like 5 of these retailers right in front of me. Then I went and said, Copilot, give me a list of sellers, retailers that actually sell Air Jordans, right? Non-Nike. And this is basically what I got. Check this out. Stadium Goods, Amazon, Dick's Sporting Goods, Walmart, ASOS, Farfetch, StockX, GOAT, Fight Club, JD Sports, Foot Locker, Finish Line, Snipes, Farfetch again, and a host of others that do sell, right? Air Jordans besides Nike themselves. So that post, somebody who may see that post, who's probably not versed in how the Air Jordans business works, might think that what that gentleman has said is actually accurate, and then find out that it's more than likely not later down the road after having believed it. In fact, I put this out here to you to even go ahead and highlight another situation that I experienced. I had an audience member that told me in multiple posts that Xbox had abandoned Europe. They said that the Xbox Series X could not be found in some big retailers around Europe, and they just saw that Xbox was not interested in growing their console business, regardless of what Xbox has said, is doing, and is actually working towards. So when they said that, I said to myself, okay, where are they getting this stuff from? Then I remembered that in the press and even on Twitter, in the airwaves, people had been saying this stuff. They first said it in the, Middle East, that this was a problem. Then Middle East retailers came out and said, yo, we're just waiting for stock. But when the press writes stories like these, and I'm not saying the press did this, this is Brap's own post, so he needs to hold this, consequential ramifications of what he posted, or maybe go back and review and revise that. But now these people started to post that in Europe, these Xbox consoles were not available. So you know what I did? I simply went on there and I said, hey, Copilot, give me a list of online retailers in Europe that sell electronics. And so this thing went out there and started to basically rack up a whole bunch of electronics retailers on my behalf. When it did all of that, I was able to see that not only was this a lie, but this was actually a huge, huge fomented piece of propaganda. In fact, once I started to look at these retailers, such as Pro Shop, El Gigantin, I think that's how you say it, Computer Slag, Whoop-T, and so on and so forth. I guess that's how you say them. A few of them, a handful of them, didn't have any Xbox consoles in stock, but then a lot of the others actually had Xbox consoles in stock. I even checked some regions, such as the Danish region, which that user said someone had told him about. I also checked the Czech, Republic region with some of their stores, and I was shocked to find some of these Xbox consoles for sale. When I looked at other general EU stores in France, I looked at some in Germany, and these Xbox consoles are available to buy. So I was so surprised, and I started to put all the links to these consoles on my Twitter feed for this person to see. And then they finally said, you know what? I was actually mistaken. This is what somebody told me. I gotta say, if you cannot basically do a simple Google search to analyze exactly this thing that you've said, or you go ahead and say it maybe as a knee-jerk response, and you didn't consider the ramifications, and you walked away, and you have people that just because they have what's called dogma, an agenda that they want to prove without any evidence to back it up, you're going to find yourself in a very interesting place. Even in the comments, right? Even in the comments, this person said Nike owns the rights to sell Air Jordans, and they decide to sell them in a multitude of retail locations, not just Nike store/website, because they know that by locking to a single outlet, they won't get the return on that exclusivity they want. Assuming the analogies to games and the changes around exclusivity, Gears is still owned by Microsoft. They set the terms and reap the benefits of the IP. Same for PlayStation and their IPs. This user said, I'm pretty sure, and people know, thank God people know. Oh, thank you God that we have not lost the eye of skepticism in the conversation. This person said, I'm pretty sure I don't need to pay $500 or $600 to step inside a Nike store so I can have the option to buy this shoe. And I'm also sure that I've seen it being sold on multiple third-party shoe stores. So by your own logic, Xbox still has their exclusive content. Take Forza Horizon, for example, is only made by Playground Turn 10 both Xbox studios. There is no Forza Horizon made by Polyphony or Codemasters, and is up to Microsoft when and where to publish the game. I am going to have to screenshot this because this is basically the case for Xbox pretty much having exclusives, just choosing to sell them on other retail stores. Download. Thank you very much. Because this thing has gotten out of hand, right? This person came out here to say it's like opening a fast food chain and share your recipes to other restaurants. Will it shock you if you find out some restaurants actually share their recipes? Would it shock you that some fast food chains actually do things like sell their food outside of their restaurant using food trucks? Has any of you ever seen a Chick-fil-A food truck? One of the most conservatively run fast food operating chains allows for its operators to take its food trucks to go and deliver and sell some of its restaurant items. You don't have to be bound to go into a restaurant or a mall location to get Chick-fil-A. You can probably be in a place where there's no Chick-fil-A location and they do an outreach to reach out to you. This is insane. This is weird. I don't know why these people have to come out here and use some of the weirdest examples to try to portray exclusivity, because the practice is dead and dying. It just is. If you wanted to argue about exclusivity, you must find a way where exclusivity benefits the customer. If you can't find a way where exclusivity benefits the customer, you'd have to dance around all of these things and possibly step on a rake trying to explain something that even any serious business entity understands that is antithetical. Because if Nike doesn't go put its shoes in Hibbets or in these other stores, Adidas is going to take them. It's going to take that market from them. They know that.